Imagine losing everything you've built over a lifetime. Your career, your reputation, even the trust of the people closest to you. Now imagine having to start over from scratch, on the streets, without knowing if there will be food or a place to sleep tomorrow. I lived that. As a renowned chef, I had it all: prestige, a promising future, and the admiration of many. But an act of betrayal threw me into the abyss. I lost my career, my home, my family. What I didn't know is that on the streets of New York, I would find something I never imagined: a chance to reinvent myself and to do what truly matters. This is my story of overcoming adversity, resilience, and the discovery of a purpose that goes beyond gastronomy.
The morning mist dances over Bethesda Fountain, creating an ethereal veil over one of New York's most iconic landscapes. Tourists haven't yet invaded the area. It's only 6:30 a.m. The sun rises timidly between the skyscrapers, painting the sky in golden and rosy hues. Beneath the ornate bridge of the fountain, among damp cardboard and tattered blankets, Helena Rodriguez awakens. At 59, her face bears the marks of 5 harsh winters on the streets of Manhattan. Her hands, once delicate and precise in handling professional knives, are now calloused and cracked from the cold. She rises slowly, each movement a battle against the arthritis that has settled in her joints. Her graying hair escapes from a holey wool cap, and her brown eyes, which once shone with passion for cooking, now carry the weight of a betrayal that shattered her life. Flashback. 5 years ago, the Le Jardin restaurant in Chicago buzzed with activity. Helena, then 54 with still predominantly black hair, commanded a kitchen of 20 employees with the precision of an orchestra conductor. Her best friend, Sophia Chen, worked as sous chef beside her for 8 years. "Helena, you're a genius," Sophia shouted over the noise of pans and orders. "This mushroom sauce recipe will revolutionize the full menu," Helena smiled, confident. "It's our recipe, Sophia. We created it together, remember? You suggested the sherry touch." "Of course. We're an unbeatable team," Sophia replied. But something in her eyes was no longer the same. 3 months later, General Manager's office. "Helena Rodriguez, you are terminated for just cause," declared the General Manager, Mr. Thompson, with documents spread across the table. "We have evidence that you were selling proprietary restaurant recipes to competitors. That's impossible. I would never do that," Helena protested, her world crumbling. "Those recipes, I created them. They're my life." Sophia stood in the corner of the room, eyes downcast, unable to look at her friend. In her hands, a flash drive containing all of Helena's secret recipes, recipes she had copied and used as evidence against their very creator. "The evidence is irrefutable. Sophia Chen testified against you and provided proof of your illegal transactions," Thompson continued. Helena's heart shattered as she saw Sophia finally raise her eyes. There was no remorse, only a cold ambition she had never noticed before. Helena shakes her head, trying to push away the memories. The pain of betrayal is still as intense as it was that day. Sophia didn't just steal her recipes, she stole her identity, her trust, her future, and worst of all, she did it under the disguise of friendship. She folds her blankets with military precision. Even on the street, some organizational habits remained. It's a matter of dignity to maintain some control over her life, even if it's just over these few belongings. A police officer approaches. "Hey, you can't stay here. The park opens to the public in an hour." "I'm already leaving, officer," Helena responds with a courtesy that surprises the policeman. Even after 5 years on the streets, she maintains an education that reveals her social background. She walks through the mall, the tree-lined avenue that cuts through the heart of Central Park. Her steps are measured. Her eyes observe every detail: the arriving street vendors, the morning joggers, the mothers with baby strollers. She has developed a survival instinct that makes her constantly map her environment. As she passes Sheep Meadow, a wave of nostalgia hits her. She used to come here with her younger sister Carmen when they visited New York in the 80s. Carmen had always dreamed of living in the Big Apple, but died of cancer before realizing that dream. Perhaps that's why Helena came here after the dismissal, a way to connect with her lost sister. But New York wasn't generous. Without references, who would give a positive reference to someone fired for just cause? Without savings, her last. Dollars were spent on the move and the first months of rent. Helena found herself in a downward spiral that culminated on the streets. Her stomach growls. She hasn't eaten in 18 hours. It's time to begin the daily survival routine. Port Authority Station buzzes with activity, even at 7:30 a.m. It's a microcosm of New York diversity. Hurried executives, lost tourists, immigrants going to work, and on the margins, the invisible ones, people like Helena, who have learned to navigate urban spaces without being noticed. Helena walks purposefully through the underground galleries. Her 5 years on the streets have transformed her into an expert in the city's hidden geography. She knows exactly where to find clean bathrooms, where security guards are more tolerant, and which restaurants discard still usable food. In the second-floor women's restroom, she performs her morning hygiene with the efficiency of someone who has turned necessity into art. A small plastic bag contains her treasures: an almost finished piece of soap, a worn toothbrush, and a small cracked mirror, a gift from a volunteer last year. Looking at herself in the mirror, she barely recognizes the woman looking back at her. The confident executive chef has disappeared, replaced by someone who has learned to be invisible. But her eyes still hold a spark of the woman she used to be. "Sorry, I can't take long," a young voice interrupts her. Helena turns and sees Marcus Williams, 19 years old, curly hair hidden under a Yankees cap, smart eyes that have seen too much for his age. He's carrying a worn backpack and looks nervous. "Of course, dear," Helena responds, giving him space at the sink. "Hey, you're Helena, right? The one who sleeps near Bethesda Fountain." Helena studies him. "Depends on who's asking." "Relax, I'm not police or a social worker." Marcus smiles, revealing a chipped front tooth. "I'm Marcus. I sometimes sleep on the bench near the Alice in Wonderland sculpture. I see you there sometimes." "Ah, yes, you're the boy who reads those thick books." "I'm not a boy, I'm 19, he protests, but without anger. "And you seem to have more class than the rest of the people living on the street. You speak differently." Helena finishes getting ready. "We all have our stories, Marcus." "Yeah, mine isn't very pretty," he murmurs. "Look, I was thinking, you know the best places to get food around here. How about we make a partnership?" Helena hesitates. In 5 years, she has learned to trust only herself. But there's something in Marcus's look, a combination of vulnerability and determination that reminds her of the younger brother she helped raise in Chicago. "What kind of partnership?" "I know the security guard's schedules. You know the best restaurants for, dining out," he smiles mischievously. "Together, maybe we can manage better." Helena ponders. The loneliness of recent years has been an almost unbearable weight. Maybe a little human company isn't such a bad idea. "Okay, but we have rules, nothing illegal, nothing that hurts other people. And if you use drugs—" "I don't use anything, not even cigarettes," Marcus interrupts. "I saw what that shit did to my mother. It's not for me." They leave the bathroom together, and Helena notices how Marcus moves, always alert, always ready to run or hide. It's the walk of someone who grew up in danger. "First stop," Helena announces as they walk down 42nd Street, the Starbucks on the corner of 8th Avenue. They discard unsold pastries and sandwiches at 10:30. "How do you know that?" "Because," Helena smiles for the first time in weeks, "I used to be a chef. I know the rituals of the food industry." Marcus stops walking. "Chef like a real chef." Helena continues walking. It was a different life. They arrive at Starbucks at the exact moment. Helena observes through the window, counting employees, studying the movement. "There," she whispers, pointing to the side alley. "The manager will appear in 5 minutes with 2 garbage bags. One is normal trash, the other is treasure," Marcus completes, impressed. When the manager appears, a middle-aged Latina woman with a tired expression, Helena approaches respectfully. "Excuse me, ma'am, my name is Helena. Would it be possible—" The manager studies her for a moment. Something in Helena's bearing, in the polite way she addresses her, seems to touch somewhere deep. "Maria," she introduces herself. "You seem different." "We all have our stories," Helena repeats her favorite phrase. Maria hesitates, then hands over the bag with food. There are chicken sandwiches and some muffins. They're still good. Thank you very much, Maria. God bless you. As they walk away, Marcus shakes his head admiringly. Man, you have a gift. She would have kicked me out if it were just me. Respect generates respect, Helena responds, opening the bag. Her professional eyes evaluate the contents. The chicken sandwich is still fresh. The bread is a bit dry, but nothing that can't be fixed. They find a corner in Bryant Park, behind the public library. Helena divides the food with mathematical precision, half a sandwich for each, a whole muffin for Marcus. He's young and needs more energy. Half a muffin for her. So, Marcus chews thoughtfully, what does a chef do on the streets? Helena looks at the horizon where skyscrapers rise like fingers pointing to the sky. The same thing an intelligent young man who reads heavy books does, survives. Touché, Marcus smiles. But seriously, you're not like the others. Most people I know on the streets have problems with alcohol, drugs, mental illness. You seem complete. Just unlucky. Unlucky is an interesting word, Helena murmurs. I prefer to think I was betrayed. The tone in her voice makes Marcus stop eating. There's such deep pain in those words that he instinctively knows he shouldn't. He changes the subject. Where are we having lunch? For the first time in 5 years, Helena laughed, a genuine laugh that sprang from the depths of her soul and surprised her with its own intensity. Oh my God, she whispers, touching her own face. I had forgotten what it was like to laugh. Marcus smiles back. It's a good sound, you should do it more often. And in that moment, under the autumn sun in Bryant Park, surrounded by the bustle of the world's most intense city, Helena Rodriguez feels something she hasn't felt in 5 years. Hope. Rivington Street buzzes with the multicultural energy of the Lower East Side. Orthodox Jews walk alongside young hipsters, kosher restaurants share blocks with Mexican taquerias, and small family stores resist the gentrification, advancing relentlessly through the region. Helena and Marcus walk down the street, following directions from other homeless people about a community kitchen where they serve real food, not just thin soup. It's Saturday, 11 a.m., and both their stomachs growl in harmony. There, Marcus points to a line extending down the sidewalk. That has to be it. The Holy Trinity Community Kitchen operates in the basement of a Catholic church. The sign on the door is in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese, reflecting the neighborhood's diversity. The line is a human mosaic. Immigrant families, war veterans, people with mental disabilities, young runaways, elderly people with insufficient pensions. Helena observes each face as they wait. 5 years ago, she would have walked down this same street without really seeing these people. Now she is one of them. First time here? Asks a woman in front of them. She must be about 40. Bleached blonde hair, clean but patched clothes. She carries a child of about 6 in her arms. Yes, Helena responds. I heard the food is good. Sister Margaret is an angel. She cooks as if it were for her own family. The woman smiles. I'm Jenny, this is my daughter Lily. Helena, and this is Marcus. Lily peeks shyly from behind her mother. Helena makes a funny face and the girl laughs, hiding her face again. You have a way with children, Jenny comments. I helped raise my younger siblings, Helena responds, a pang of longing crossing her chest. The line moves slowly, but there's no impatience. People talk quietly, share street news, help each other. There's a silent solidarity among the city's invisible. When they finally reach the entrance, they're greeted by a group of volunteers. But who draws attention is a tiny nun, about 65 years old, graying hair escaping from a simple veil, blue eyes bright with genuine kindness. Welcome, I'm Sister Margaret O'Brien, she greets Helena and Marcus with a warm smile. First time here? Yes, sister, Helena responds, impressed by the nun's radiating energy. Wonderful. Today we have chicken stew with vegetables, homemade, bread and surprise dessert, Sister Margaret announces as if presenting a 5-star restaurant menu. Please make yourselves at home. The basement environment has been transformed into a welcoming dining room. Tables with checkered tablecloths, flowers in recycled glass jars, soft music playing in the background. It doesn't feel like charity, it feels like community. Helena and Marcus sit at a table with Jenny, Lily, and an elderly man who introduces himself as Thomas, a retired ex-teacher who lost his apartment after health problems. "The stew is delicious," Thomas comments after the first spoonful. Helena tastes it and immediately her taste buds awaken. The stew is good, very good, but there's something that could be improved. The thyme is excessive and it lacks a touch of acidity to balance. "It really is very tasty," she agrees, but Marcus notices her analytical expression. "You're mentally dissecting the food, aren't you?" he whispers. Helena smiles guiltily. Chef habits never die. After the meal, Sister Margaret approaches the tables, talking individually with each person. When she reaches them, she sits next to Helena. "You seem to be enjoying the food. It's always gratifying to see satisfied faces." "Sister, may I ask a question?" Helena hesitates. "Who cooks here?" "We have a wonderful group of volunteers." "Why do you ask?" Helena takes a deep breath. I worked with food for many years. The stew is very good, but if you'll allow a small suggestion." Sister Margaret leans in, interested. "Please, a little less thyme, maybe a pinch of apple cider vinegar for acidity, and if you sautéed the garlic before adding the other seasonings." Sister Margaret's eyes widen. "You know about cooking." Helena lowers her eyes, embarrassed. A little nothing," Marcus intervenes. "She was a professional chef." "Marcus!" Helena scolds him, but it's too late. Sister Margaret studies, Helena with new interest. "Professional chef, my God, what a gift the Lord sent us today." "Sister, please, it's not quite like that." "Nonsense. Come with me to the kitchen. I want you to meet our brigade." Before Helena can protest, Sister Margaret leads her to the kitchen in the back. It's a small but well-organized space where 4 volunteers work cleaning dishes and preparing for dinner. "Everyone meet Helena. She's a professional chef and will give us some tips." Helena feels exposed, vulnerable. "Sister, I really don't—" "Nonsense!" Sister Margaret interrupts with her characteristic energy. "Tony, come here." A man of about 70 approaches, drying his hands on an apron. He's tall, well-trimmed white hair, erect posture despite his age. There's something in his movements that suggests culinary knowledge. "Tony Romano," he introduces himself, extending his hand. "Volunteer here on Saturdays." Helena shakes his hand and immediately feels specific calluses. Calluses from someone who worked professionally with knives. "You're also a chef," she observes. Tony smiles, impressed. "I was. Retired for 10 years. You have a good eye." "Helena here was giving suggestions about the stew," Sister Margaret explains. "Oh, really?" Tony crosses his arms, not defensive but curious. "And what would they be?" Helena hesitates, but something in Tony's respectful look encourages her. "The thyme was a bit strong, and it lacked acidity to balance the richness of the chicken." Tony nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. I noticed that too, but didn't want to offend Maria, who did the seasonings." "And you suggest—" "Apple cider vinegar, just a few drops, and sauté the garlic separately before combining everything." The 2 chefs look at each other, and there's mutual recognition, the silent language of professionals who share the same passion. "Sister," Tony says slowly, "I think we just found our new culinary consultant." Sister Margaret claps her hands. "Perfect. Helena, would you like to help in the kitchen? We can offer some extra meals in exchange." Helena feels her heart race. It's the first time in 5 years that someone recognizes her professional value, that sees her as something beyond a homeless person. I would love to," she whispers, and realizes tears are forming in her eyes. Marcus appears at the kitchen door. "Everything okay there?" Helena turns to him, and Marcus sees something in her face he hadn't seen before. Genuine hope. "Marcus," she says, her voice choked with emotion, "I think we found a place where we can be useful." Sister Margaret smiles, as if she knew she had just witnessed the first step of a much larger healing journey. "Welcome to the family, my dears," she says, and Helena feels for the first time in 5 years that maybe there's still kindness in the world. Wednesday, 4 p.m. Helena has been helping in the community kitchen for 3 weeks, and a beneficial routine has been established in her life. She and Marcus arrive at 3 p.m., help prepare dinner from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., eat a decent meal, and still take leftovers for the next day's breakfast. More importantly, Helena feels useful again. Today, however, there's a crisis in the kitchen. Maria Gonzalez, the main cook and volunteer for 8 years, is sick. Tony Romano is late due to a medical appointment. Sister Margaret runs from one side to another, trying to organize dinner for 150 people with only 2 inexperienced volunteers. "Helena, what a blessing you're here," Sister Margaret exclaims, visibly stressed. "Maria has the flu, Tony is stuck in traffic coming back from the doctor, and I have 2 pots of soup burning simultaneously." Helena quickly assesses the situation. In the first pot, a lentil soup has stuck to the bottom, creating a bitter taste that has spread throughout the liquid. In the second, a vegetable stew has the vegetables completely disintegrated, turning into a paste without texture. "Sister, breathe," Helena says calmly, taking command. "Marcus, can you help me carry these pots outside? We're starting from scratch." "But Helena, it's 150 portions. We don't have time," Sister Margaret protests. "We have time, trust me." In the next 20 minutes, Helena transforms the kitchen. She evaluates the available ingredients: onions, carrots, celery, potatoes, canned tomatoes, frozen chicken, beans, pasta, basic spices. It's not much, but she's worked with less. "Marcus, defrost that chicken in the microwave. Sister, could you chop these onions very finely? I need you too," she addresses the other volunteers, "to wash and cut these potatoes into small cubes. Very small." There's something magical in the way Helena moves in the kitchen. Every movement is precise, economical, intentional. She turns on 2 stoves, heats oil in a large pot, seasons the chicken with salt, pepper, and a pinch of cumin. "The secret," she explains while working, "is to build flavors in layers. First, we brown the protein to create a flavorful base. The aroma of golden chicken fills the kitchen, and the volunteers stop to observe. There's something hypnotic about Helena's confidence, the way she transforms simple ingredients into something that smells like a miracle. "Now the onions," she continues, removing the chicken and adding the chopped onions to the same pot. "We're going to caramelize lightly. This will give sweetness and depth to the broth." Sister Margaret watches, fascinated. "How do you know all this?" 25 years of professional kitchen," Helena responds, adding celery and carrots. "You learn to improvise, to make miracles with little." In 15 minutes, she has a fragrant sofrito bubbling. She adds tomato paste, lets it cook for 2 minutes, then adds hot water, the chicken in pieces, pre-cooked beans and seasonings, and now asks Marcus, genuinely curious, "Now we wait. Time does the heavy work. Let's prepare the second pot." With the remaining ingredients, Helena improvises a creamy potato soup, but without cream, using only the technique of cooking some potatoes until they fall apart, creating natural thickening. Tony Romano arrives at 6:15 p.m., 15 minutes before dinner, expecting to find chaos. Instead, he finds an organized kitchen, 2 aromatic dishes ready, and Helena putting the finishing touches: fresh parsley on top of the soup, a pinch of paprika over the stew. "My God," he murmurs, tasting the stew. "Helena, that's exceptional." "It was what we had," she responds modestly, but there's a gleam in her eyes that Tony hadn't seen before. "No, you don't understand," Tony insists. "This here isn't charity food. This is restaurant food, professional food. How did you—" He stops, studying Helena's face. Something clicks in his mind. "You weren't a chef at just any little restaurant, were you?" Helena hesitates. "I worked at respectable places." "What places?" "Tony, that doesn't matter anymore." "Le Jardin, in Chicago." Helena freezes. Tony continues. "I knew Emmanuel Rodriguez, no relation to you, I imagine. He worked at Daniel, in Manhattan. He always talked about a chef in Chicago, a certain Helena Rodriguez who was revolutionizing contemporary American cuisine. He said she was a genius, that she had a bright future." Tears begin to fall down Helena's face. It was another life." Tony approaches her, his voice soft. "What happened, Helena?" "I was betrayed," she whispers. "By the person I trusted. Most The silence in the kitchen is heavy. Sister Margaret, Marcus, and the other volunteers feel they're witnessing a deeply intimate moment. "And now you're here," Tony says gently, "saving our dinner and feeding 150 people with the same mastery you fed customers paying $200 per person." Helena looks at him, surprised by the compassion in his voice. "You know what the difference is?" Tony continues, "There you cook to impress. Here you cook to nourish, and that, my dear, that is sacred." Sister Margaret approaches and touches Helena's arm. "Dear, do you think it was coincidence that you came to us? Do you think God didn't know exactly where you needed to be?" Helena can't respond. The emotions are too intense. Marcus breaks the moment by touching her shoulder. "Hey, Chef, it's 6:58. Your customers are arriving." Helena takes a deep breath, dries her eyes, and straightens her shoulders. "Right, let's serve." And that night, as she watches 150 people, homeless families, lonely elderly, lost youth, savoring the food she prepared with love, Helena feels something she hadn't felt in 5 years, genuine pride in her work. Tony approaches her at the end of service. "Helena, I need to ask you an important question." "Yes? Would you like to help redesign our menu, make it more nutritious and tasty? We can offer a small stipend." Helena looks around, at Sister Margaret serving desserts with a smile, at Marcus helping with cleanup, at all those people who were fed not just with food but with dignity. "Yes," she responds, "I would love to." And for the first time in 5 years, Helena Rodriguez goes to bed in her corner in Central Park, not just fed but with a purpose. It's 11 p.m. on a cold Friday night in November. The Brooklyn Bridge stretches majestically over the East River, its lights reflecting on the dark waters, like diamonds scattered on black velvet. The wind cuts through faces, but Helena and Marcus walk along the bridge's promenade, absorbed in a conversation that has been going on for 2 hours. They discovered this ritual 3 weeks ago, after their shifts at the community kitchen, when the public shelter is too crowded and the usual spots in Central Park become dangerous due to groups of drunk young people who frequent the area on weekends. The bridge offers something rare for homeless people: privacy and dignity. Here they're not invisible or unwanted. They're just two human beings sharing New York's most iconic view. "So," Marcus breaks the silence, leaning against the bridge railing, "it's been 6 weeks since we met, and you've never told me the whole story." "Just pieces." Helena pulls her coat tighter around her body. "It's a coat Sister Margaret gave her last week, used but clean and warm." "It's not a very pretty story, Marcus. Mine isn't either. But maybe it's time we let this shit out of us. Don't you think?" Helena studies him. In the 6 weeks of living together, Marcus has become more than a survival partner. He's become family. He protects her from street dangers, with the ferocity of a son protecting his mother. She takes care of his health and education, with the dedication of a mother caring for her son. It's a chosen family, born from necessity and strengthened by genuine affection. "You first," she negotiates. Marcus laughs bitterly. "Fair." He takes a deep breath, his eyes lost in Manhattan's lights. "My father left when I was 8. Said he was going to buy cigarettes and never came back. My mother, she couldn't handle it. Started with alcohol, then crack." Helena feels her heart tighten. She knows this story. She's heard variations of it dozens of times on the street. "She brought men home, bad men. When I was 14, one of them, he..." Marcus stops, his voice choked. "He tried to touch me. I fought, broke his nose. My mother beat me and said I was lying, that I was trying to sabotage her relationship. My God, Marcus, I held on until I was 16. I tried to take care of her, tried to keep her clean. But one night I came home and she was having sex with a guy in my bed. In my bed, Helena, to pay for his drugs." Marcus wipes his eyes with the back of his hand. "I took my things and left, never went back. That was 3 years ago." Helena extends her hand and touches his arm. "You did the right thing. You saved yourself." That's what I tell myself every day. But it still hurts, you know. I still wonder if I could have done something different. "No," Helena responds firmly. "You were a child. It wasn't your responsibility to save your mother. It was her responsibility to protect you. They stand in silence for a few minutes, watching a cargo boat pass slowly under the bridge. "Your turn," Marcus whispers. Helena takes a deep breath. It's the first time in 5 years she's going to tell the complete story to someone. Sophia Chen was my best friend for 15 years. We met at the Culinary Institute. She was brilliant, but insecure. I was more confident, more creative. I always encouraged her, always shared my opportunities with her. Helena leans against the railing, her hands trembling slightly, not from cold, but from emotion. When I got the executive chef position at Le Jardin in Chicago, she was the first person I called to be my sous chef. We worked together for 8 years. She knew all my recipes, all my professional secrets. And she betrayed you. More than that, she planned my destruction. Helena's voice hardens. I found out later from other employees that she had been copying my recipes for months, photographing my notebooks, recording our conversations about techniques and suppliers. Marcus turns to look at her. Why? Because she wanted my position. And she knew she'd never get it honestly. I was a better chef than her, and everyone knew it. Helena closes her eyes, memories flooding back. She forged evidence that I was selling recipes to competitors, created fake emails, fake bank transactions, and when the general manager confronted me, she was there, swearing she had seen me making the transactions. What a bitch, Marcus murmurs. Worst wasn't the professional betrayal. It was the personal one. Sophia knew all my fears, all my insecurities. She knew I had been abandoned by a boyfriend at 35, that I was afraid I'd never find someone, that the kitchen was my only source of self-esteem. And she used all of that against me. Helena starts walking along the bridge, too agitated to stay still. On the last day, when I was cleaning out my office, she showed up. You know what she said? "Helena, you were always too naive. The gastronomic world isn't a place for kind people like you." What a psychopath. I lost everything, Marcus. My career, my reputation, my savings. I came to New York thinking I could start over. But who gives a job to a chef fired for just cause for theft? Helena stops walking, her hands gripping the bridge railing. The first months I tried, I sent resumes, did interviews. But the industry is small, people talk. The story arrived before me. Helena Rodriguez. Oh yes, the one who stole recipes in Chicago. Tears begin to fall down her face. The rent money ran out, the food money ran out, hope ran out. And when you don't have an address, you can't get a job. When you don't have a job, you can't get an address. It's a vicious cycle. Marcus approaches and hesitantly hugs her. Helena lets herself be supported. 5 years of contained pain, finally finding an outlet. You know what kills me most? She whispers between sobs. It's that Sophia got everything she wanted. I'm sure she's out there somewhere commanding some kitchen, being celebrated while you're here, Marcus completes, feeding people who really need it with more love and dedication than she ever had. Helena looks at him, surprised by the wisdom in his words. Helena, listen. This Sophia, she may have stolen your career, your reputation, even your recipes, but she can't steal who you are. And who you are is someone who takes simple ingredients and creates miracles, someone who transforms a church basement into a place of dignity and hope. Marcus holds her face between his hands. Sophia may be in some fancy kitchen, but I bet she's never made anyone cry with gratitude for a plate of food. I bet she's never saved anyone's life with a meal made with love. Helena smiles through tears. How did you get so wise at 19? I had a good teacher. He smiles back. A woman who showed me that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. And I choose you, Helena Rodriguez. No matter what happened in the past, you're my family now. Helena hugs him tighter, and for the first time since Sophia's betrayal, she feels she's not alone in the world. You're my family too, Marcus Williams. And you know what we do now? What? We promise we'll never give up on each other, no matter what happens. The two of us against the world. The two of us against the world, Marcus repeats, and the oath echoes over the East River waters, witnessed by the millions of lights of the city that never sleeps. They stay there another hour, sharing good childhood memories, making modest plans for the future, building the foundations of a family they chose to create. And when they finally descend from the bridge to find a place to spend the night, both carry something they hadn't had for a long time, the feeling that they're not alone in the world. Tuesday morning dawns crisp and clear, with that golden quality of light that makes New York look cinematic. Helena wakes up on the Washington Square Park bench, an upgrade from her usual corner in Central Park, since she and Marcus discovered that the police here are more tolerant of people who keep the area clean and don't cause problems. She stretches carefully, each joint protesting against another night sleeping in the open. At 59, her body demands payment for each day of this hard life. But today, there's something different in the air, an expectation, as if the universe were holding its breath. Marcus is sitting on the next bench, reading a thick book he found in a used bookstore on 4th Street. He has this impressive ability to concentrate completely on reading, even in the middle of urban chaos. "Good morning, sunshine," he greets her without looking up from his book. "Tony came by at 7 a.m. looking for you." "Tony? What did he want so early?" "Said he had an interesting proposal. Asked you to meet him at the cafe on Spring Street at 10 a.m. Helena checks the public clock next to the fountain, 8:45 a.m. Enough. Time to use the public restroom, do basic hygiene and get to the location. David's Corner Cafe sits on a charming Soho corner, squeezed between an art gallery and a vintage boutique. It's the kind of small, cozy place that survives in the Starbucks era by having genuine personality and loyal clientele. Helena finds Tony sitting at a back table, talking animatedly with an Asian man of about 45. Well-cut black hair, casual but clearly expensive clothes. "Helena!" Tony stands up, smiling. "Perfect timing. This is Helena Rodriguez, the chef I told you about." The man stands and extends his hand. "David Kim. Pleasure to meet you." Helena hesitates for a moment, conscious of her appearance. Even doing her best with limited resources, she still looks like what she is, a homeless person. But David greets her with the same courtesy he would offer anyone. "Please sit down," David indicates a chair. "Tony told me about your work at the community kitchen. Very impressive." "Thank you," Helena responds, still not understanding where the conversation is going. Tony leans forward. "Helena, David owns this cafe. He's going through a difficult situation in the kitchen and needs help." David nods. "My head chef left last week without notice, took 2 cooks with him. Now I only have 1 person in the kitchen, and she's overloaded. The cafe is losing customers because quality has dropped and wait times have increased." Helena processes the information. "And you're thinking of offering me work?" "A test first," David clarifies. "Tony said you have significant professional experience. If you can help stabilize our operation, we can talk about a more permanent position." Helena feels her heart accelerate, but forces herself to keep her tone calm. "What kind of menu do you serve? Breakfast and lunch, artisanal sandwiches, salads, soups, paninis. Nothing too elaborate, but it needs to be consistent and tasty." "And when would this test be?" "Now," David smiles. "If you're willing." Helena looks at Tony, who makes an encouraging gesture. "Helena, you were born for this. It's your chance to return to what you love." "But I don't have appropriate clothes. I don't have recent references." "We have uniforms," David interrupts gently. "And Tony is reference enough for me. The question is, do you want to try?" Helena takes a deep breath. It's the first real job opportunity in 5 years. The first chance to rebuild her professional life, to return to what has always been her identity. "Yes," she responds. "I want to try." David leads her to the small kitchen in the back of the cafe. It's a compact but well-equipped space, with an industrial grill, 6-burner stove, convection oven, and all the basic utensils a chef needs. "This is Carmen." David introduces a Latina woman of about 30, visibly stressed and sweaty. "Carmen, this is Helena. She's going to help us today." Carmen looks at her with barely disguised skepticism. "Another experienced cook who'll last 3 days?" "We'll see," Helena responds diplomatically. David hands Helena a clean uniform and lets her change in the small employee restroom. When she comes out wearing the white apron and with her hair tied under a cap, something magical happens. She transforms. Her posture straightens, movements become more precise, eyes gain laser focus. "The menu," David hands her a laminated copy. And here's our current situation. He shows a board with accumulated orders: 12 sandwiches, 8 salads, 5 soups, 3 paninis. Lunchtime started 20 minutes ago, and there are already customers complaining about wait times. Helena quickly studies the menu and available ingredients. Her professional chef mind kicks into action, organizing workflows, prioritizing tasks, optimizing processes. "Carmen," she says calmly, "can you focus on the salads? I'll take the hot dishes." "Are you sure? These sandwiches have very exact specifications. Trust me." In the next 40 minutes, Helena demonstrates why she was executive chef of a renowned restaurant. She works with economy of movement, preparing multiple dishes simultaneously, constantly tasting, adjusting seasonings with surgical precision. The smoked brisket sandwich with caramelized onions she prepares is 30% more flavorful than the usual version. She adds a pinch of Dijon mustard and a touch of fresh thyme that completely transforms the flavor profile. The tomato soup she finishes, with a drizzle of herb oil and homemade croutons made from yesterday's bread, becomes almost a gastronomic experience. "My God," Carmen whispers, tasting the soup. "This is incredible. How did you?" 25 years of practice, Helena smiles, for the first time in months, feeling completely in her element. David observes from afar, impressed not only with the quality of the dishes but with how Helena transforms the kitchen environment. Carmen, who was visibly stressed, now works with renewed confidence. Orders flow smoothly. Customers stop complaining. At 3 p.m., when the lunch rush finally diminishes, David approaches Helena in the kitchen. "Helena, I need to ask you a direct question." "Yes? Why is someone with your skill level in your current situation?" Helena stops cleaning the grill and looks him in the eyes. "Because I made the mistake of trusting the wrong person and paid a high price for it." David nods. "We all have our stories. The question now is, would you like to write a new chapter?" "What do you mean?" "I want to offer you part-time work, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's what I can pay now, but if business improves." Helena feels tears forming in her eyes. "David, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Carmen needs help, I need a competent chef, and you need a chance." Helena looks around the small kitchen. It's not Le Jardin, it's not $200 dishes, but it's a clean kitchen with fresh ingredients, serving honest food to real people. "Yes," she whispers. "I accept." Tony, who was watching from the door, smiles widely. "Helena, you just took the first step back home." And as Helena takes off her uniform and prepares to return to the world of the streets for a few more weeks, until she receives her first paycheck, she feels something she hadn't felt in 5 years. Concrete hope. Not just vague hope, but hope based on real possibility. Marcus waits for her outside the cafe, anxious. "So? How was it?" Helena hugs him tight. "Marcus, I think our luck is changing." "Really? Really? And you know what we're going to do now? We're going to find a place for you to finish high school. Because if I'm going to rebuild my life, you're going to rebuild yours too." They walk down Spring Street back to Washington Square Park, but this time they're not just two invisible people surviving. They're two people with a future. 6 weeks later, Helena is at the cafe at 9:30 a.m. on a Thursday, preparing mise en place for the lunch rush. This morning ritual has become sacred to her, arriving half an hour before official time, to organize ingredients, plan the day's menu, and savor these moments of peace before the rush. Work at David's Corner Cafe has transformed her life in ways she didn't anticipate. Not just financially, although the $600 per week makes a huge difference, but psychologically. She has purpose again. She has identity beyond homeless person. "Good." "Morning, chef," Carmen greets her, arriving for her shift. The relationship between them has evolved from skepticism to mutual respect, and now to genuine friendship. "Good morning, Carmen. How's your son?" Carmen has an 8-year-old boy who sometimes appears at the cafe after school. "Better. The fever broke last night. Thanks for asking." This courtesy, this normalcy of professional relationship still moves. Helena. For 5 years, her only social interactions were basic survival transactions. Now she has colleagues, she has routine, she has people who care whether she shows up or not. David arrives at 10:15 a.m. carrying boxes from suppliers. "Helena, great news. The Village Voice review came out today. He shows the newspaper. There's a small article about hidden gems of Soho, and David's Corner Cafe is mentioned. The food has improved dramatically in recent weeks, with simple dishes executed with refined technique. The smoked brisket sandwich is a revelation. I can't believe it, Helena whispers, reading and rereading the paragraph. Believe it. And thanks to this, we've had a 30% increase in clientele this week. Helena smiles, but there's a concern she's been carrying for days. David, I need to ask you a huge favor. Of course. What do you need? Could you advance me 2 weeks' salary? I promise I'll work extra to compensate. David interrupts her with a gesture. Helena, you've already helped me more than I expected. Of course I can advance it, but may I ask what for? Helena hesitates, then decides on total honesty. Marcus, and I found a small apartment in Queens, a tiny room in Astoria, sharing with 2 other people. It's not much, but it would be our first fixed address in years. David's eyes soften. Of course, Helena, and you know what else? If you can get a fixed address, we can talk about increasing your hours, maybe full-time. Really? Really? You brought not just technical competence, but also soul to this kitchen. Carmen is happier. Customers are more satisfied. Even I'm sleeping better at night because I know the kitchen is in good hands. Helena feels tears of gratitude, but controls them. She's still learning to accept kindness without suspicion. The apartment is exactly as Helena imagined, tiny with second-hand furniture, in a building that has seen better days. But when she puts the key in the lock and the door opens, revealing the room she and Marcus will share for the next few months, it's as if she's entering a palace. It's not much, she tells Marcus, who carries his few possessions in a worn backpack. It's perfect, he responds, and she sees tears in his eyes too. Helena, we have an address, a real address. The room has 2 single beds, found on Craigslist. For $100 each, a small dresser and a window facing the inner courtyard. There's not much space, but there's something they hadn't had in years: privacy, security, dignity. And now, Marcus asks, sitting on his bed and testing the mattress, now you enroll in night school to finish high school. I researched. There's a program at LaGuardia Community College 20 minutes from here by bus. Marcus looks at her seriously. Helena, are you sure? It's going to be expensive. Marcus Williams. She sits on his bed and takes his hands. You saved my life, literally. When I was losing hope, you appeared. When I was isolating myself, you forced me to trust again. Now it's my turn to save your life. But what if I can't? Do it. What if it's too hard? It's been 3 years since I studied. Then we'll find a way. I'll help you with homework. I'll pay for a tutor if you need one. But you will finish high school. And then, if you want, we'll find a way for you to go to college. Marcus hugs Helena tight. I love you, you know that, right? I love you too, son, she responds. And the word son comes out naturally, without planning. Both notice. We're a strange family. Marcus laughs through tears. The best families always are. Helena is training Tomas, a young cook David hired, to cover the days Helena doesn't work. She discovered that teaching gives her almost as much pleasure as cooking. Remember, Tomas, the secret to pumpkin soup is to toast the seeds separately and add them at the end. It gives texture and a more complex flavor. Got it, Chef Helena. Just Helena, she corrects gently. She still feels strange being called Chef again. David approaches with an envelope. Helena, your first official paycheck as a part-time employee. She opens the envelope. $650. It's not much by city standards, but it's more clean money than she's seen in 5 years. David, there's something I'd like to discuss. Yes? You mentioned the possibility of full-time. If that happens, I'd like to propose something. I'm listening. How about we create a trainee program? Take young people at risk, people coming out of homelessness, ex-convicts trying to reintegrate, immigrants needing experience, and give them a chance in the kitchen. David frowns, thoughtful. It would be a risky investment. It would be an investment in people. And these people would work harder than any privileged employee because they'd know the real value of the opportunity. How would you know that? David asks with a knowing smile. Female intuition, Helena responds, returning the smile. Let me think about it, but I like the idea in principle. Helena and Marcus are sitting on their beds, she helping him with basic math for the night school admission test. If a restaurant serves 120 customers per night, and each customer spends an average of $25, what's the total revenue? $3,000, Marcus responds quickly. Very good. Now if operating costs are 70% of revenue, what's the profit? Marcus does the math. $900. Exactly. See? You're smarter than you think, Helena. Marcus closes the book and looks at her. Thank you for everything, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for teaching me that family isn't about blood, it's about choice, and I choose you every day. They sit in silence for a moment, absorbing the peace of that moment. They have a roof over their heads, food in the refrigerator. Yes, they have a small fridge, honest work, and each other. You know what's craziest? Marcus murmurs. What? 2 months ago I was planning to leave New York. I thought this city had no place for me. And now I feel like I'm finally coming home. Helena smiles, turning off the cheap lamp they bought at Walmart. Good night, my son. Good night, Mom. And for the first time in 5 years, Helena Rodriguez falls asleep, not just with a roof over her head, but with genuine hope in her heart and a family by her side. Friday morning begins like any other at David's Corner Cafe. Helena arrives at 9:30 a.m., prepares her ingredients, reviews the day's special menu, but David has a different task for her today. Helena, I need you to make a special delivery for me. Delivery? The Lumiere restaurant on the Upper East Side ordered our artisanal breads for a special event tonight. It's a good networking opportunity. They could become regular customers. Helena knows Lumiere by reputation. It's one of Manhattan's most prestigious restaurants, 2 Michelin stars frequented by celebrities and influential critics. Exactly the kind of place where she used to work. In another life. Are you sure you want me to go? Maybe Carmen. Helena, you have presence and knowledge that impress. I want you to represent our cafe in the best possible way. At 2 p.m., Helena carefully carries 2 boxes with the cafe's artisanal breads she herself helped develop, incorporating techniques she learned throughout her career, and takes the subway to the Upper East Side. Lumiere occupies the ground floor of a historic building on Madison Avenue. French windows, elegant decoration, an energy Helena immediately recognizes. The bustle of a high-level kitchen preparing for evening service. Delivery for the executive chef, she announces to the host. 1 moment, please. Helena waits in the lobby, observing the restaurant's movement. Waiters doing mise en place, managers reviewing reservations, the familiar orchestra of a first-class establishment. She feels a pang of nostalgia, mixed with pain. You must be from David's Corner. Helena turns and freezes. Sophia Chen stands 3 meters away, wearing an impeccable executive chef uniform, hair pulled back in a perfect bun, the confident posture of someone who has conquered everything she wanted. She hasn't changed much in 5 years, maybe some lines around her eyes, a more sophisticated air, but essentially the same woman who destroyed Helena's life. Time stops. The restaurant's bustle becomes a distant hum. Helena feels her heart race, her hands begin to tremble. 5 years of pain, anger, and betrayal condense into this moment. Sophia observes her for a long second, clearly not recognizing the woman before her. Helena has changed drastically. Thinner, graying hair, simple clothes, the visible marks of years on the streets. But when recognition finally comes, Sophia is visibly shaken. Helena? Sophia's voice comes out as a strangled whisper. Sophia. They look at each other across the abyss of 5 years, and a betrayal that changed the course of 2 lives. Sophia recovers first, forcing a professional smile. My God, Helena, what a surprise to see you here. You're working for David's Corner. The question carries implicit cruelty, the executive chef of Le Jardin now making deliveries for a small cafe. Sophia always had a talent for finding sensitive spots. I am, Helena responds with dignity, raising her chin. And apparently you got what you always wanted. Sophia looks around nervously. Some employees begin to notice the tension between the two women. Helena, listen, maybe we can talk privately. My office, it's not necessary. I'm just making a delivery. Helena places the boxes on the counter, with professional care. Artisanal breads as requested. Recipe developed with traditional French techniques and contemporary touches. Sophia opens one of the boxes, and even through her emotional confusion, her chef instincts activate. The breads are exceptional. Perfect golden crust, complex aroma, texture that promises to be sublime. These are excellent, she admits reluctantly. Thank you. Sophia studies her more carefully. There's something different about Helena, a calm, an inner peace that didn't exist before. The Helena she knew was ambitious, sometimes anxious, always seeking approval. This Helena seems complete. Helena, I think about you sometimes. I wonder what, Sophia? How you are, what happened after Chicago? Helena smiles, but it's a sad smile. After you destroyed my life, you mean? Sophia looks around again, clearly uncomfortable with the possibility of her employees hearing the conversation. Helena, please, can we not do this here? Do what? Tell the truth. I know you must be angry. Angry? Helena interrupts, and there's a strength in her voice that surprises even herself. Sophia, I spent 5 years on the streets of New York because of your betrayal. 5 years sleeping on park benches, looking for food in dumpsters, being treated as invisible. Anger is too small a word for what I felt. Sophia pales. On the streets? Helena, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. Why would you care? You got everything you wanted. My position, my reputation, my recipes. What difference did it make what happened to me? It wasn't like that, wasn't it? Helena takes a step forward, her voice low but intense. Didn't you spend months secretly copying my recipes? Didn't you forge evidence to incriminate me? Didn't you look me in the eyes and swear you had seen me committing crimes you knew I would never commit? Sophia can't sustain Helena's gaze. I was desperate. You don't understand the pressure. The pressure? Helena laughs bitterly. Sophia, I treated you like a sister. I shared everything with you, knowledge, opportunities, even my personal secrets. And you used all of that as a weapon against me. Helena, I'm sorry, I'm deeply sorry. If I could go back... But you can't, can you? The silence between them is heavy. Restaurant employees pretend not to be listening, but the tension is palpable. Sophia takes a deep breath. You're right. I did a terrible thing. Inexcusable. But Helena, look at you now. What about me now? You seem at peace, different. Actually, more complete than I remember from Chicago. Helena studies her. There's something genuine in this observation, a vulnerability Sophia rarely showed. You know why I'm at peace, Sophia? Why? Because I learned the difference between cooking to impress and cooking to nourish, between being successful and having purpose, between being admired and being loved. Helena picks up her bag, preparing to leave. I work at a small cafe in Soho. It's not glamorous. I don't pay journalists to write about me. I don't serve famous clients. But you know what I do? I feed people who need it. I train young people, at risk. I have a family I chose and who chose me, and I sleep well at night. Sophia remains silent, absorbing the words. Helena, wait. What? Do you forgive me? Helena stops, considering the question. 5 years ago, if someone asked if she would ever forgive Sophia, the answer would be a categorical no. But standing there, looking at the woman who was once her best friend, Helena feels something unexpected. Compassion. Sophia, do you want to know the truth? Yes. I thank you. What? If you hadn't betrayed me, I never would have discovered who. I really am. I never would have found my true family. I never would have learned that personal worth doesn't come from titles or professional recognition. Helena smiles, and this time it's a genuine smile. You freed me, Sophia. You freed me from a life where I measured my worth by what others thought of me, where I confused ambition with purpose. Sophia has tears in her eyes. Helena, as for forgiveness, that's not about you, it's about me. And yes, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Helena heads to the exit, then stops and turns one last time. Sophia, can I give you some advice? Of course. Learn the difference between being successful and being happy. Because looking at you now, I can see you achieved one thing, but not the other. Helena leaves the restaurant, leaving Sophia standing in the middle of the lobby, surrounded by all her professional achievement, but visibly shaken by the words of a woman she tried to destroy, but who, somehow, emerged stronger. Helena sits in the subway car, processing the encounter. She expected that seeing Sophia again would bring back all the pain and anger of the last 5 years. Instead, she feels a strange sense of closure. Her phone, a basic smartphone she managed to buy with her first paycheck, rings. It's Marcus. Hi, Mom, how was the delivery? Interesting, Helena responds. Very interesting. Everything okay? You sound strange. I'm great, son. Actually, I'm better than I've been in years. Huh, why? Helena looks out the subway window, watching the city pass by. Because I just discovered that I'm no longer the person who was betrayed 5 years ago. I'm someone completely new, someone better. I don't understand, but if you're happy, I'm happy. Marcus, when I get home, we're going to celebrate. Celebrate what? The fact that the past finally stayed in the past. 3 months have passed since the encounter with Sophia. Helena now works full-time at David's Corner Cafe. Marcus is doing well in night school. He got an A in math on the last test, and their life has gained a stability that seemed impossible just months ago. It's a Saturday morning when Sister Margaret appears at the cafe, carrying her characteristic energy and a smile that suggests important plans. Helena, dear, what a blessing to find you here. Sister Margaret, what a nice surprise. What can I do for you? Actually, it's what you can do for our entire community. Sister Margaret sits at a table near the counter. Do you remember we always talked about expanding the community kitchen? Of course, you mentioned we'd need more space to meet the growing demand. Exactly. Well, we managed to organize a fundraising event. It's going to be next Saturday in Washington Square Park. We expect about 300 people, community leaders, local business people, even some journalists. Helena senses where the conversation is going. And you'd like me to help with the food? More than that, dear. I'd like you to be our main chef for the event, not just preparing the food, but being the culinary face of our cause. Helena falls silent, processing the proposal. It's a huge opportunity, and intimidating. Sister, I don't know. It's 300. People. I have experience with large volumes, but it's been a while. And what will we serve? With what budget? We'll work with local ingredient donations. As for the menu, I completely trust your professional judgment. David, who had been listening to the conversation, approaches. Helena, you should do this. David, no, seriously. It's exactly the kind of opportunity that can open doors. And Sister Margaret is right. You'd be perfect to represent the cause. Helena looks at both of them, feeling the weight of opportunity and responsibility. Can I have Marcus as an assistant? And maybe Tony to help me? Of course. The more experienced hands, the better. Sister Margaret claps her hands. The Nourishing Our Community event transformed a section of the park into an outdoor culinary festival. White tents, tables decorated with flowers, a small stage for presentations. It's elegant but cozy, exactly the right tone for a charity event. Helena arrives at 6 a.m. to begin preparation. She spent the entire week planning the menu, an elevated version of community kitchen food that would show both technique and heart. The main dish is a chicken stew with seasonal vegetables, but Helena refined it with professional techniques. Broth made with roasted bones, uniformly cut vegetables, fresh herbs from the local farmer's market. It's familiar food, but executed with restaurant precision. Marcus and Tony arrive at 7 a.m., followed by a small brigade of volunteers from the community kitchen. Helena organizes them with the same efficiency she used at Le Jardin, but with much more gentleness. Remember, she tells the team as they begin preparation, we're telling a story today. The story of how food made with love can nourish not just bodies but entire communities. At 10 a.m., when the first guests begin to arrive, Helena is nervous but confident. The aroma coming from the kitchen tent is impossible to ignore. Sister. Margaret appears with a tall man, about 50 years old. Well-cut greying hair, elegant casual attire. Helena, I want to introduce you to James Mitchell. He writes for the New York Times about gastronomic culture. Helena feels her stomach knot. A Times critic here, tasting her food. Pleasure to meet you, she extends her hand, trying to hide her nervousness. Sister Margaret told me your story, James says, studying Helena with interest. A professional, chef who found purpose feeding the community. It's exactly the kind of story I like to write about. It's just what I do, Helena responds modestly. May I taste? Helena serves him personally, a generous portion of the stew accompanied by homemade bread that Tony helped make. She watches anxiously as James tastes the first spoonful. His expression changes. Surprise, then recognition, then something close. To reverence, my God, he murmurs. This is extraordinary. The balance of flavors, the texture. This is the work of someone with serious training. 25 years of professional kitchen, Helena responds. Where? Helena hesitates, then decides on total honesty. Le Jardin in Chicago, among other places, but that was another life. James nods, taking another spoonful. May I talk to you after the event? I'd like to write about this. The event is an absolute success. All 300 portions were served. Guests are delighted. And Sister Margaret announces they raised $50,000 for the community kitchen expansion. James Mitchell approaches Helena in the kitchen tent, where she's supervising cleanup. Helena, may I steal a few minutes? They sit at a quiet table in the corner of the park. James takes out a small recorder. Do you mind? It's fine. Tell me about your journey. How does an executive chef end up leading a community kitchen? Helena takes a deep breath and, for the first time publicly, tells her complete story. The betrayal, the fall, the years on the streets, meeting Marcus, the community kitchen, work at the cafe, and finally, this event. James listens in silence, taking occasional notes. Helena, may I make an observation? Of course. Your food today wasn't just technically excellent. It had something I rarely find in high-end restaurants. Genuine soul. Purpose beyond profit. Helena smiles. It's easier to cook with soul when you know who you're cooking for. And why? Do you have plans to return to high-level gastronomy? Helena looks around the park, at Marcus talking animatedly with other volunteers, at Sister Margaret radiant with the event's success, at Tony teaching cooking techniques to interested young people. James, I never left high-level gastronomy. I just redefined what that means to me. Helena is preparing lunch when David comes running, holding a copy of the New York Times. Helena, you need to see this. The article takes up half a page in the lifestyle section. The chef who found her soul, how betrayal led to redemption in New York's community kitchens. Helena reads with tears in her eyes. James told her story with sensitivity and respect, focusing not on the tragedy, but on the transformation. He describes her food as refined technique served with genuine heart, and ends the article suggesting that perhaps the future of gastronomy isn't in expensive restaurants, but in kitchens that nourish communities. Helena, David says softly, your phone hasn't stopped ringing since the paper came out at 6 a.m. Who's calling? Restaurants wanting to hire you, investors interested in financing your projects, TV producers wanting to make documentaries about you. Helena sits down, overwhelmed. And there's more, David continues. A woman called 3 times, said she's Sophia Chen. Helena's heart races. What did she want? Said she read the article, that she needs to talk to you urgently, that she has a proposal. Helena looks at the article again, at yesterday's photos, her smiling while serving food, surrounded by her chosen family and community. David, whatever her proposal is, you can tell her I'm not interested. Are you sure? Helena smiles, carefully folding the newspaper. Absolutely. I have everything I need right here. And in that moment, observing the lunch rush in the small cafe with Marcus in the back studying for a test, while occasionally helping her, Helena Rodriguez knows she has found something Sophia could never steal from her. Her true home, 6 months later, Rivington Street, is unrecognizable on Saturday morning's RD inauguration. Where once only the Holy Trinity Community Kitchen operated, now stands a completely renovated space, Nourish, half restaurant, half culinary training center, totally dedicated to the philosophy Helena developed throughout her journey. Helena stands before the mirror in the small office that serves as her dressing room, adjusting her impeccable white uniform. At 60, she had her birthday last week, celebrated with a surprise party organized by Marcus and sister Margaret. She has never felt more complete, more herself. The space transformation was possible thanks to an unlikely combination of support. The fundraising from the charity event, donations from readers touched by the New York Times article, and to everyone's surprise, a significant investment from Sophia Chen. Ready for the big day, chef? Helena turns and sees Marcus at the door. He now wears the official Nourish manager uniform, a position he earned on his own merit after finishing high school with honors and completing an intensive gastronomic administration course. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," she responds, adjusting his tie. "And you, nervous?" "A little. It's a lot of responsibility." "Marcus, you coordinated the logistics of this inauguration like an experienced professional. You're 20 years old and have already proven you can manage a complex business. I'm proud." The Nourish concept is unique. In the morning, it functions as a training center where young people at risk learn professional culinary skills. In the afternoon and evening, it's a restaurant serving affordable but sophisticated dishes, prepared by both the experienced team and the most advanced trainees. All profits are reinvested in the social program or divided as bonuses for employees. It's conscious capitalism in its purest form. "Helena," Tony appears at the door, radiant in his chef-instructor uniform. "The first customers are already arriving." And there's a line on the sidewalk. They go out to the main dining room. The space is a perfect harmony between elegance and accessibility, reclaimed wood tables, plants in every corner, an open kitchen where customers can observe dish preparation, and photos on the walls telling the story of each person who went through the training program. Sister Margaret is at the door, receiving the first customers with her characteristic smile. She's now officially Nourish's Community Relations Director. "First official customer," she announces. It's Jenny, the woman Helena met the first time she visited the community kitchen. She now works as an administrative assistant in a nearby office, but Lily, her daughter, still remembers Helena as the woman who made funny faces. "Helena, I can't believe you did all this," Jenny exclaims, looking around amazed. "We did it," Helena corrects. "This community made this happen." The movement grows quickly. By 1 p.m. all seats are occupied. Food critics, neighborhood residents, curious tourists, people who read about Helena in the Times, an eclectic mix united by exceptional food and unique atmosphere. Helena moves through the kitchen like an orchestra conductor, but this time all the musicians are volunteers. She personally trained each of the 8 young people who are part of the first trainee group. Their stories are varied: ex-homeless, youth who left the foster care system, immigrants seeking opportunities, but all have in common the determination to build a better future. "Chef Helena," calls Carmen, who left David's Corner Cafe to be Nourish's sous chef. "Table 7 wants to greet you." Helena cleans her hands and goes to the indicated table. They're 2 middle-aged men, clearly financially successful. "Are you Helena Rodriguez?" asks one of them. "I am." "Robert Chen," he introduces himself, and the surname makes Helena freeze for a moment. "I'm Sophia's brother, and this is my partner David Park. We're investors." Helena feels her stomach tighten, but maintains composure. "Pleasure to meet you. Helena, we came here to make a proposal. We want to franchise the Nourish concept, open units in other cities. We can make this something national, even international." Helena studies them for a moment. "And why would you do that?" Robert hesitates. "Because my sister asked me to. She feels very sorry for what she did to you and believes this project can be her way of reparation." "Where is Sophia?" Helena asks calmly. "Outside. She didn't know if you'd accept seeing her." Helena ponders for a moment. "Tell her she can come in." 5 minutes later, Sophia appears at the door. She's visibly nervous, carrying a large envelope in her hands. She's changed little since the last encounter, but there's something different in her eyes, a humility that didn't exist before. Helena leads her to a quiet table in the corner of the restaurant. Sophia. Helena, this place is incredible. Really incredible. Thank you. Sophia places the envelope on the table. Helena, I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I need to do something. She opens the envelope and removes several documents. These are the recipes I stole from you, all of them. And this, she shows another document, is the complete confession of what I did, detailing how I forged evidence, how I lied about you. Helena takes the documents, surprised. Why? Because I read your Times article, because I saw what you built, because I realized you transformed a tragedy into something beautiful while I transformed an opportunity into something ugly. Sophia takes a deep breath. Helena, do you want to know the truth? I was never happy. Not when I got your position, not when I gained recognition, because everything was built on a lie, on something I stole from you. And now? Now I want to help you expand this, Sophia. Gestures to the restaurant. Not out of guilt, but because I genuinely believe what you're doing here is the future of gastronomy. Helena studies Sophia for a long moment. Sophia, may I ask you a question? Of course. Do you really believe in what you're proposing? Or is this just a way to ease your conscience? Sophia looks directly into her eyes. Honestly, it started as guilt. But after I saw this place, after I understood what you're doing, Helena, you're showing that it's possible to be successful without destroying other people, that it's possible to build something bigger than personal ego. Helena remains silent, processing. Sophia, if I accept your partnership, it will be under my conditions, my rules. Of course, anything. First condition, you will have no creative control over any unit. You will be an investor and advisor, but I maintain complete autonomy over concept and operations. Agreed. Second condition, each new unit must have a real social program, not just marketing. It must genuinely help people at risk. Absolutely. Third condition, Marcus will be my operational partner in any expansion. He has an equal voice to mine in all important decisions. Perfect. Helena extends her hand. Then we have a partnership. Sophia shakes her hand, tears in her eyes. Helena, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to do the right thing. The restaurant is closing after a triumphant day. All the dishes were praised, the trainees performed exceptionally well, and there are already reservations for the next 2 weeks. Helena, Marcus, Sister Margaret, Tony, Carmen, and the entire team are sitting around a large table, sharing a family meal and reviewing the day, so Marcus raises his glass of sparkling water. A toast. To what? Helena asks. To family, to community, and to the fact that 5 years ago 2 people met in a Port Authority bathroom and decided they were worth taking care of each other. Everyone laughs and raises their glasses. And, Marcus continues, looking directly at Helena, to the fact that the best chef in New York also happens to be the best mother a lost boy could have asked for. Helena feels tears in her eyes. Marcus, no, let me finish. Helena, you saved my life. But more than that, you taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about choosing to love someone every day, even when it's hard. It's about believing in someone's potential, even when that person doesn't believe in themselves. He stands up and hugs her tightly. You gave me a future. And now look, we have a restaurant. We have a mission. We have a family we chose to create. Sister. Margaret joins the hug, then Tony, then Carmen, then all the trainees. It's a collective hug, a moment of pure gratitude and love. When they finally separate, Helena looks around the table, at all these people she chose and who chose her back. Do you know what's most incredible about all this? She says softly. What? Asks Sister Margaret. 5 years ago, when I lost everything, I thought my life was over. I thought Sophia had destroyed not only my career, but my identity. Helena smiles, through tears. But now I see that she freed me. She forced me to discover that there is redemption in New York.